Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. This is Mike.
And Beth.
And Beth, I guess I would say I'm the last comic standing.
You are. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I used to love that TV show. There used to be a fantastic comedy reality TV show on NBC that ran for several seasons called The Last Comic Standing. And I watched every season. I loved it. It was just these, kind of like the American Idol of stand-up comedy. And people would get up, they'd do some short sets, they'd make it to Hollywood or whatever. You had three comedic legends that would judge them, and then somebody would be the winner. And I would watch that sometimes and see people performing, thinking, I could do that.
Which you've also thought that you could be on Naked and Afraid and survive in the wilderness with no supplies.
What if they combined the two shows? Comedians, Naked and Afraid.
That does not sound good.
The last naked comedian standing.
Yeah, well, and I just wanted to point out, I don't disagree with you, but that you could do the comedian thing, but I just wanted the audience to know that you have high confidence in your ability to do some of these things.
Well, I wouldn't say high confidence. It was like I see it and I have a desire to do it.
Right.
But then when it comes to the moment, I think I realized I was probably a bit too ambitious.
But you did try back in the day to be on Survivor.
I did. I sent in a Survivor tape. I tried to be on the show. I did not get chosen, obviously.
I wish we could find that tape.
Yeah.
Would that not be the coolest thing to
Well, I think I only made one.
Yeah.
It was back in the day when you had to send it in on
on your WHS, yeah,
And
so you wouldn't have copied it.
I recorded it, sent it to them, and now it's in a landfill somewhere in California.
If they only knew what they knew now, they would have picked you.
Yeah.
You could have been like that dude. The only guy I remember is that dude, Richard.
Yeah, he's like the most famous of all time.
Yeah.
Him, or there's another guy, Johnny Fairplay.
Oh, I remember that.
Who was
yeah.
another villain or
Yeah.
so. And he was on a couple of seasons.
Are you noticing a trend of who I would, the category I would group you in?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
The villains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reality television show on right now called The Traitors.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it's a bunch of, I've never seen the show. This is what I've been told. It's a bunch of like C and D list celebrities that are at some mansion, and it's kind of Survivor-ish in that one of them is a traitor and you're trying to do things to like, it comes on Peacock, I think,
Okay.
NBC.
Okay. You don't, at first I thought you meant traders, like we're trading goods. So I'm envisioning like, tariffs and trade with other countries.
Well, and I tried to pronounce it right because I don't speak words good. And so I was trying to traitors.
Traitors, yeah.
Not with the D, with the T.
No, but it's just, how your brain goes to these funny places. And I'm like, that's a weird concept for B-list celebrities or whatever. But anyway.
Anyway, they give away money at the end or whatnot. And so we have a pastor on our staff at church, and she watches this show, I guess, every season. So she called me the other day and was like, Michael, you have got to apply for next season's Traitor. She said next season they're doing just Joe people. Like, they're not going to be celebrities. Yeah. It's just people. She was like, you would be perfect for it. And I don't know if that was an insult or a compliment. She felt like I could go onto some kind of social deduction reality television show where you had to basically lie to everybody. And she thought I would be great at it.
Well, you are a state champion at a game that requires lying as well.
I'm the North Carolina state champion of Saboteur 2023.
Yeah, which is interesting because you are a state champion for Saboteur and for Crokinole.
Yeah.
You're quite the state champion person. Now, Crokinole just requires like dexterity, but Saboteur definitely requires lying.
Mental dexterity.
Yeah, yes. So anyway, but it does say something about you that we're placing you in the villain category / good at lying category.
Yeah, so I am. I'm going to apply and see what happens. Mm-hmm. So if I'm off the show for about a month,
off the podcast, and it's like me and the kids, or me and Cam.
And you hear Beth complaining that I'm in Ireland for some reason, then you're going to know that I got on the show.
Oh, and I will be complaining because if I don't get to go work in Ireland too or something, and be there, I will never let you hear the end of it. That will be so unfair.
Maybe we can divorce before then, and then any winnings I get will be all mine. I want to split it with you.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, see, this is why you're the villain. But
just thinking ahead.
Back to you and your comedy dreams.
Well, let's start off. It started on Saturday with a really big weekend. Like the last 3 days, we're going to go Saturday, Sunday, Monday have been huge for me.
Yeah. Oh, your manliness, your man card you got on Saturday?
So,
okay, yeah.
I'm not the manliest guy when it comes to doing things with your hands as far as like mechanics or building or repairs. Like I can do basic stuff.
But like your dad can take a car and rebuild it. Like he can
with
take
his eyes closed.
Yes. My dad can like do like refinishing wood or fixing a car or building. Like if you're like, Dad, build this, he can, or repairing things in your house. Like, so we've got my dad and your dad who are really manly in that way, highly skilled.
And they probably always look down on me for not being able to do this stuff.
Inability to do some of that.
But you know what? When Mom got a new computer Monday, who'd they call?
Oh, that's
me.
right. You're the IT guy.
I had to go set up their computer.
As are all people in Generation X. In addition to our many other things we're great at, we are IT people. Because my mom, I got her digital photo frame and she sent a picture of that too. It needs repairing. So I'll be doing that with my digital photo frame skills. No, but mine needs repairing too. But anyway, so we are multi-talented.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you wowed us.
So Friday, our garage door broke.
Yes.
It was the belt. The belt, in its defense, is 17 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been on here since we moved in. It was time for it to go.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, man. So I was like, So immediately I was like, I'm going to have to hire somebody to fix this. Well, I was like, well, let me just see. So I pulled it up on YouTube and I watched, and it looked fairly simple.
So you're like, I can do that.
Yeah. Really simple for a skilled person. But someone like me, it looked like I could knock it out also.
Right.
So I go on Amazon, find the belt, buy it. It says it'll be here Sunday. So I was like, all right, I'll just try to do it on Sunday. But it actually came first thing Saturday morning. It was here quick.
So it was fast.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was getting ready to start that, and I ran out. And while I was out and about running some errands, I just ran into a guy I'd never met before. He just started talking to me. We had a conversation. And I'll describe him. He was pretty jacked. Like he was a pretty muscular dude. You could tell this guy works out daily, probably.
Right.
So we're talking, and he looks at me, and he says, "Man, you're big." He's like, "How much you bench?" And I was like, "I have no idea."
You should have just made up your body weight since you're supposed to be able to bench your body weight. But
anyway. I didn't want him to like show me. So I was like, I have no idea.
He'd be like, bench me right now.
And he was like, well, where you work out at? I was like, I don't work out. I've never worked out. And he was like, dang, that's genetics. So I was like, holy cow. Like, here's this dude that's like, obviously works out and is strong, and he's looking at me, which I've said before, I got good broad shoulders, which is very deceptive.
Yeah.
It holds my weight well, and it makes people think I'm actually more physically fit than I am.
And don't you have really muscular calves?
I do.
If he'd looked at your legs.
Yeah,
Did you have on shorts?
I did not.
Oh, okay. So
this
is totally your shoulders.
He looked at my shoulders and thought, yeah, this guy's
and
Mr.
you
Olympia.
Also have a large neck.
I do have a big neck.
Do you remember that girl that I lived with and her comment about necks?
I have written that into one of my comedy sets.
Have you really?
Yeah, I'm going to use that.
Should I not use it on here then? No. Okay, anyway, but Mike has a large neck that's in proportion to his large shoulders.
And head.
Yeah.
I need a large neck and shoulders to hold up this giant melon.
Remember Danielle used to talk about how big our kids' heads were too? Yeah, they inherited that from you. Yeah.
But Danielle, to her defense, will say our kids grew into their heads.
Yeah, they did grow into their head.
So anyway, I left that conversation feeling like...
Because you are like, I am one step from being a bodybuilder.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I was like...
Which your cousin is legitimately a bodybuilder.
Well, similar, just rub that in my face.
No, I'm saying, but similar body build to you genetically, but then also doesn't get to eat even a Hershey Kiss and he's
about my age, and you could probably put us side by side as a before after picture. Like, this is what you look like before you started working out, and this is what you could look like if you actually worked out some.
But you were feeling good because you were like, this person thinks that I am a bodybuilder.
So I came home and I was like, I can do this. The belt was there, so I went up.
Because you're like, I'm muscular.
Yeah.
And manly.
Well, our garage, we have a garage that has never had a car in it one time.
Yeah.
In 17 years.
It's just not big enough.
It is big enough. we just have too much crap.
Yeah. Particularly now that we have 2 adult children who bring all their crap home.
Yes.
No, we should blame that on, we have 1 adult child, the female, who brings pretty much 3 apartments worth of stuff for our garage.
Yes. So I had to clean out the garage just to even get the ladder underneath the garage door opener to get it fixed.
Which I was really glad because the garage looks great.
So this has added to all the work I had to do.
As an aside, I'm going to go start breaking things in the garage when I need it cleaned. So you'll have to do the ladder
thing. So I did. I cleaned out the garage, got up there, started working on the belt, and eventually got it up. It didn't take... it didn't take too long, but it was enough. And the garage door opens and shuts now. And I felt very good. And I was so pumped. I just went ahead and kept cleaning the garage and kind of took a load to the dump of junk. But
you were able to do this with a YouTube tutorial. And everything did not go smoothly. It was kind of like a work camp kind of scenario, you know, when like the plans tell you to do this and the materials are this.
Yeah, because of course the belt... Even though Amazon said it was the exact match, one of the ends was not. So I had to take the end off the old belt and put it on the new belt. And that took a little bit of time. But I got it on.
There is the idea of exact match, you know, because I have my blender and I had to order a replacement thing. And the exact match was not an exact match.
Right. I don't even know how many like glass plates we went through in the microwave that time.
Yeah. You know, that it won't fit. Yeah. And you can't cut those. But you were able to fix this belt. So you got like you got more man cards Saturday than you got like kind of a lifetime achievement award in man cards.
I felt like it. So,
you felt
was an incredible
so
Saturday. It was so.
You were just walking around like I'm so strong and tough, and you were grunting.
Chest out, grease on my hands.
Yes,
I'm like this is what a man feels like.
Yes, you were wearing some of those coverall kind of things. Man,
let's not get crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Coveralls. So then yesterday was the big show.
Yes.
I don't know if it was fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't have to preach yesterday.
Yeah.
I kind of, at one point, as I was sitting there while Timmy was preaching, I thought, I kind of wish I was today because maybe that would have released some of the nerves I had. You know, I'd already been up in front of people. I'd have talked, you know what I mean? I had gotten in that rhythm, but I was nervous all day yesterday. Typically Sundays, I'll take a little nap in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I was so jittery, I couldn't even nap. Like I was just up and going.
Yeah.
So the show started at 7:30. We had to get there. He wanted us there at 4:45.
And it was pouring rain yesterday afternoon. So you're having to go. The weather's like dreary, you know, setting the stage here.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So we get there and they're doing some type of improv class, I think, in the main building. So we had to go over to the little bar next door that they also own and practice over there. So there were 7 of us. There were supposed to be 9. It was started out with 10. One person quit and, you know, just gave up on it. The next person... So we get there quite a bit early.
Yeah.
And
which, when you told me that kind of stressed me out because I get wanting to be there early, but that felt like a lot of time that could have ended up in a lot of downtime, just like getting nervous.
Yeah, and I was, and we all went in and sat down, and he wanted us all to run through our sets one more time. So we did that, and he just kind of randomly was like, all right, you start, and we'll just go around the room. I thought my practice set was the best it had been in any time I did it. I mean, it killed. And all of the comedians there were laughing. They were leaning in. They were into it. And they had heard the story
a lot
for weeks now.
Yeah.
And they still were laughing. And it was very complimentary to me in that when I finished, Steve, the teacher, for the people who had gone before me and the people who went after me, he was giving them just slight suggestions of things.
Like tweaks.
Yeah, like not changing the material because you don't want to get in somebody's head at that point. And
but more like pause here or... just, that kind of thing. Speak
Stage
up
presence.
or hold your mic.
Right.
Stage
Stage
presence
presence type things.
Yeah.
But when I finished, he was like, that's perfect. Like, I have nothing to say. And he had not made the set list yet of who was going in what order. But everybody was like, I'm not going after Michael. And so, you know, that felt...
Yeah.
I mean, I felt bad. They felt intimidated,
right.
but it felt very...
But that kind of goes along with your manly thing.
Yeah.
You're not only intimidating physically, now you're intimidating as far as your comedy in addition to that.
And there was some of them that when they did their practice was the best they had been.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few that struggled.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those folks just kept overthinking it.
Yeah.
And they were not confident. They had tried to add material in and tweak things. And even the kid, the 17-year-old kid that went last night, he got up and just froze at practice and was like, I don't remember anything. Like, I can't even start. And I mean, to the point that Steve was like, go sit back down. I'm going to call you up again. Let's just hit the reset button.
Yeah.
And he struggled. He didn't even get through his set. He was like, I've forgotten everything.
Oh, wow.
And he was really nervous. And then afterwards, we all went across the street to a pizza restaurant, and Steve ordered a couple of pizzas, and we, got some sodas and stuff, and just sat there and talked. And
how many people actually ate?
Counting Steve, I guess there. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. I know where I was at. I totally got dropped out. They started out with 10 of us.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
One kid dropped out early on.
Yeah.
There was a husband and wife. The wife was very pregnant. She's due mid-March. Well, the last practice we had, she was having some cramps. And so they didn't come to our last practice. Well, she ended up having the baby on Friday. And so they didn't get to do the show. But the husband still came. She sent the husband and wanted the husband to go kind of see everybody. And so it was nice to see Brian. And he came. That was his name. Her name was Chelsea. But Brian and Chelsea had their baby on Friday. And Brian came to the show last night. So we went from 10 to 7. And so counting Steve, there was 8 of us last night at the pizza joint. And probably out of the 8, probably 8,
Yeah,
and one of them was Steve.
I think I would have tried to make myself eat a little, but I don't know.
I don't eat. There was another pastor, Jason, who was also there. And he and I were talking about it. Like, I said, I don't eat on Sunday mornings. Like, I can't. He's like, me either. He's like, I can't. And
see, I do when I preach, though. I do. If I don't eat, I'll get sick. I have to eat.
I never eat on Sunday mornings. Ever.
It's just so interesting.
So
my brain wouldn't work without the food to power it.
Well, yeah. Maybe it's my problem. But I didn't feel like I could eat last night.
Yeah.
I had a glass of sweet tea.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was all.
And so we walked back over to the show. We're there by like 6:45 or so. 7 o'clock, doors open, and folks start coming in. I had invited our small group from church, and then some friends that listened to the show, and so they knew that what was going on. So I wanted to invite them because I haven't talked about this at church. Like, I haven't publicized. My parents didn't even know I was doing this until last Monday. When I was over at their house, and I told them, and so it's not like I haven't made this like a big deal.
Right.
It's been very quiet. Unless you listen to the pod. I mean, you listen to the pod, you know all about it.
That's why it's a benefit of listening to this podcast. We reveal all sorts of secrets on here that no one else knows about.
No one else.
Yeah, because I can't tell you how many times my mom or them would come and be like, oh my goodness, I didn't know this, or I heard this on the podcast. So, yeah.
And so, anyway, I invited some folks, and you invite, well, I don't know, let's say you invite 20 people. You hope 5 or 6 can show up. Well, counting you and the kids, I had 22 people there last night to see me.
When I walked in, I kid you not. So this place is like...
Yeah, let me ask you, what'd you think of the club? When you walked in, was it what you thought it would be?
No. And is that where you and Josh went for yours? Okay, yeah. So when I walked in, it was not at all what I thought it would be, because Josh was like, why did you raise your hand? Because at the beginning, they're like, is this their first time at a comedy club? And I raised my hand, and Josh is like, no, it isn't. And I'm like, yes, it is. Because I've been, to your point, I think we talked about this on another podcast, I've been to like the Coliseum or like a very large place to see.
Gaffigan, Bargatze, Seinfeld, in big auditoriums and Coliseums.
But I haven't been to like a small comedy club. So the way this was set up, it's almost like when I went to like a jazz bar or like the flamenco and like one of these like smaller, more intimate places, but it still held a decent amount of people. But there was like 2 rows of tables across. So you have like a stage that's lit up that says like the idiot box and has the bright lights up there. And then you have like 2 rows of tables, and there's like 4 chairs to a table and a guy that takes tickets when you come in. And then there's a little bar area where you can get a drink if you want it, and bathrooms. And when we got there when you told us to at 7:15. And it was already so full that Jacob, Maria, Josh, and I were all able to go. And so we were on the second row. And it was like, if you would have put everybody that came for you, we would have filled up the entire first row of tables if we'd have all been there together. I mean, it was crazy. I went around and tried really quick. It's really dark. Like, they have super bright lights on the stage, and then it's really dark where we are. So I couldn't really get great pictures of your fan club that was there. But, I tried to video some just so we could remember everybody that came. And it was just really, really cool to see how loved you are and how many people came out to support you.
Yeah. And I was nervous up until the first few friends started showing up. And then it was like I just had this overwhelming peace. I didn't think about my set again. I didn't run it through my head again. I was just like, whatever happens, happens. Like, I'm just going to get up there and roll with it.
And it felt fun because it was it's a good size because you don't feel overwhelmed by the crowd or anything, but it's big. There's enough people there too that, I think the laughter is kind of contagious and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had a host.
Yes.
I'd never met him before, but I guess he's a local comic that sometimes does some of the hosting for their shows. He got up and did 5-minute set, 5 to 8 minute set, just kind of starting things off and
warming up the crowd.
And then they went to the students, and the teacher set the order and decided I would go last. And so
you were the closer,
I guess. Yeah. And so
and it was quite the different group. There was only one woman. She's a millennial because that was part of her bit, so I know how old she is. And then her husband went first. He's an older guy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how old he is.
I think he said he's about 10 or 12 years older than her.
So I thought he looked older. I didn't think he looked like a millennial. I thought he was a little older.
I think he's about 12 years older.
So you had the guy that opened, then you had him, and he did his bit, and then his son was next, right? Or was somebody else in between?
Dr. Farmer.
Oh, yeah. There's a doctor that lives nearby. He's a retired doctor, but he grew up on a farm, so he did his bit on farming. Then the man who went first and the woman, their son went. He was a 17-year-old and did his bit. And then the mom, the millennial female, went. And then we had... Was that when the other pastor went? The other pastor went. And then after him, there was the man.
Yeah, he was the oldest one in the class.
Yeah,
I think he was like 75.
He said he was like,
75 years old.
A 75-year-old guy, retired
person
from the Navy. Yeah. And then you went and closed it. And they ran it like clockwork. Like, everybody did their bit. They got off the stage. The MC guy that opened it up would come and introduce the next person. But it was done in an hour or so.
And there's no dead time. It's like when you're applauding for the person finishing,
the other person's
walking up, so it feels like they're applauding for you coming on. So there's no quiet.
And after you did it, then your teacher came on and did a little bit.
Did probably about a 10-minute set.
And then we were able to get a picture of everybody that came for you, which like filled up the entire front, which was awesome. So that was really cool too.
Yeah.
But I don't know how, I know you said, well, do you want to talk about I can tell you what we thought, but you can talk about how you felt.
It just went by so quick.
Yeah.
I thought about it this morning. It felt like your wedding day.
Yeah.
You know it happened, but you have no memory of it.
Right.
Like I got up there, the lights are bright, everything is so dark, you can't see barely the people on the front row.
Yeah.
And I just went on muscle memory and went, all right, I've done this in my head 1,000 times. I'm just going to get up here and do it and try to get into a rhythm. But it went by, the 5 minutes felt like 5 seconds.
But you called me on the way home, and one thing I thought was interesting is you talked about how way early in your ministry days, you would get in your head and you would dissect your sermons, and you were doing that on the drive home with this bit. And I was telling you that I think it's so interesting because I think that's why pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone is so important, because like we talked about before the Big 12, like you get like good at things or routine or used to things, or even you get acclimated to the anxiety or whatever of standing up in front of people. So while you weren't necessarily having anxiety about being in front of a crowd, because you were presenting the material to a different type of crowd, and it's a very different type of material than a sermon, I think it's natural that then you do get a little nervous and you second guess yourself. And probably, I mean, have you felt nervous like that in a long time?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you weren't super nervous like some people, but I mean, you still had like...
Oh, I had nerves, for sure. And nerves butterflies I hadn't felt in a long time.
Right, yeah, which I think is a good thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but we thought, I mean, immediately after the kids were like, Dad was great, your bit, I mean, I don't want to spoil any of it, but I would like to say that you're welcome. I give you
are
so
the common
much
thread.
I'm the inspiration. Let's put in I'm the inspiration for a comedy routine. But yes, was the inspiration for much of the comedy. And I know I'm here. I know I was here for good sermon material, and now I'm here for good comedy material too. But it was...
And I mentioned to Steve, I think it was last week during practice, I was like, I said something. I said, these are stories I'm telling that my wife has heard before.
Yeah.
She's not going to be offended.
Right.
And I was like, and I've tried not to like make her sound bad. And Steve's like, oh no. He was like, you've been very humorously respectful to your wife.
Yeah.
And he was like, and you do enough of throwing yourself under the bus, especially with that middle story. He was like, it's fair and balanced. And he goes, I've had some comedians come in here and they just trash their spouse.
Yeah.
He said, Steve's like, I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, why aren't y'all divorced?
Yeah.
You know, like, but he said, that's not what I got from you.
Well, and one thing I appreciated is there's one part, and we won't talk about the routine, but I think you were like, okay, well, does Beth come off, like you didn't say my name, but, you know, crazy or out there? And he said, instead, how was it? He said you presented it like a woman that gets us done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, yeah.
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 I was like, you know, I don't want to make her sound like, you know, some kind of battle axe.
Or crazy person.
Yeah. And he was like, no. He was like, to me, she sounds like a woman to get stuff done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, yeah. But what we loved about yours so much, and it was really interesting. I say all that about your other folks just to say, you know, it was interesting to see, I think, the different styles, the different ages, the different delivery, all of that. But with yours, we talked about a few things. The kids, because I called the kids and debriefed all of us. So Maria and the kids drove home separate, and I was separate, and you were separate.
And it was interesting having the kids there so we could get like a multi-generational perspective.
So, yeah, so it was neat to get different perspectives. So what I did is I called the kids and was, you know, because I wanted to get their real take on what they thought without you, you know, so it wouldn't be like, because, you know, sometimes you'd want to be nice about people's feelings or whatever. But it was interesting because we went through the different routines. And before I talk about yours really quick, the multi-generational perspective comes up because Jacob brought up how some of the jokes, he said, they landed great for the audience that was there, in that, as he would say, they tried to say we were millennials. And I was like, no, we're Gen Xers. But they were saying, or like the crowd that was there was mostly probably our age or older, not like many young people in that crowd. And Jacob mentioned how when you and I one time, and Josh and Jacob, we went when we were in Colorado or Wisconsin.
Idaho.
I mean, Idaho. Yeah. We were somewhere, but we went to this show and like, it was like I don't know how to describe it.
It was like a Saturday Night Live type,
yeah, like
vaudeville, improv show.
But like you and I were dying laughing, but Josh and Jacob were kind of like looking at each other like, what's happening? And they were just talking about how that's because the humor really did get directed at us. But Josh and Jacob and Maria said what was cool about your set was the humor landed with them too, the younger ones, because yours were stories. And I think what we talked about is you're such a good storyteller. So you're telling this story. It's funny. like Maria was saying, how your story flowed, and it was all original, because like I think they were talking about too, sometimes when you hear things like in that show we went to with the boys, Maria wasn't there, or different shows, sometimes they're like, well, that's material I might have seen on TikTok or something, it's not original. Or they were talking about how sometimes material can be something anybody could give, but yours was so personal and unique because it's real life. Mm-hmm. And you had a nice twist at the end that Jacob was like, whoa, I didn't know that. So it was just really cool to talk to them and get that perspective. But they loved it. I loved it. I thought you were fabulous. No one would have known you were nervous. You seemed extremely comfortable. It was interesting because we talked about you and the other pastor, how comfortable you both seemed just at the microphone, like just you both had a stage presence and stuff because of that.
And that's what I tried, like the kid.
Yeah, if you've never done it.
After the last practice, where he froze up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were walking out and he was just like, man, I wish I could just have like 10% of what you have. And I was like, man, you got to remember, I'm 51 years old and I've been standing up in front of people for 30 years.
Yeah.
I haven't been a stand-up comedian, but I've been learning, like how to speak in front of crowds.
How to like condense a story, how to emphasize the important points. And as pastors, you do insert humor into sermons sometimes. So we were joking about it, but it's kind of true because we were saying you could just practice all your new material in front of the congregation every Sunday. Just do your 5-minute
I even told one of the friends last night, I was like, I just took stories that I'm sure I've shared at some point in
as
a sermon.
As an illustration.
And just took out the biblical example.
Yeah.
And just linked up some stories that had a common thread.
Right. So that was, and we talked about too how you'll be able to get mileage out of this if you want to. Like if you keep doing this bit, you will be able to even further refine it and tweak it. But you'll also, if you want to, you can add some stuff in, make it a little longer. So now you've got your foundation essentially. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we just thought you were phenomenal. And again, just blown away by the people that came. We shot like Ross came, and we had so many, because we had Luke and Doug came. Chris and his mom, who was visiting, came, which was really sweet and cool. Like, let's see, who else? I'm trying to get the Van Brunts, the McLarens,
their
kids.
Brian and Sherry, and Faith and Jason.
Yeah, I mean it was
so many.
Oh, Charles and Charlene. I'd said Ross, us, the family. I mean, so I hope I didn't leave anybody out because it was just amazing going and seeing all those different people that came to support you. And that was really, really cool. I think just the people, that would come out, because when I say it was raining, it was like pouring rain when I drove there. It's like at least 30 minutes to get there. I mean, it was really
all
cool.
These people drove a ways.
Yeah.
None of these people live in Greensboro.
And they paid money.
And they paid money,
to come in, So like it was really, really sweet. And I hope that you'll be able now, because, like, we didn't invite everybody in the world because this was your first one, but, like, we talked about maybe you can go do some open mics and stuff. So I think now in the future, like, your mom or my mom or our parents or your sister or other friends from church or people in the community, we can start inviting different people to these things as you do it. But it was really cool. It was also interesting talking to the guy that owns it at the end. He was saying he has more teachers, and the second most is probably pastors. And we were just talking about how that just seems to flow naturally for people who are routinely standing up in front of people, talking and are comfortable in front of a crowd and stuff. So, yeah. It was also just interesting, the difference in the content. Like, because of course, I mean, it was not there. Some people cussed, some didn't. Some had edgier content.
Cussed but me.
I think they did too. I think everybody had at least one cuss word that they dropped in there. Yours was the only completely G-rated, 100% G-rated.
And the guy that went before me was the most RX-rated.
Yeah, he was like, it was such a contrast between you two because, he was the most out of the people that went. Yeah, and his content was very different than yours.
Ooh,
So it was like, it was quite the quite the difference in things you saw and experienced doing it. But it was awesome. I was super proud, not just of how you did it, but like, again, putting yourself out there and doing something that different, but also just putting yourself out there, you know, and being nervous again and the work that went into it. I mean, this is weeks and weeks for those. And that's the thing I think about too, like for some of them, you know, like you said, like telling that kid, they might have stood up in front of somebody 3 times, you know, or something. And so if they keep doing it, I'm sure they'll improve. And I think some things, you know, some people have more natural ability than others, but I think it's impressive the work everybody put in and doing that. It was really cool.
Yeah, and and I thought each of them last night when they did their performance was the best any of them have done.
Yeah.
Like, all of them were better last night than they were even in the afternoon when they went over it.
Yeah.
The Dr. Farmer, I would say me and the other pastor, ours probably stayed the most consistent.
Like you didn't change it
right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
It sounded like it did in the rehearsal.
Yeah, even last week, you know, so like there was barely any difference between, say, last Monday and yesterday. The other 4 folks, there were some tweaks there. And like I said, a few of them just overthought it. You know, they just, but that comes with, you know, Steve kept telling them, he was like, don't stick with simple, stick with what's funny, and trust it.
But I think that's also, again, what you do. Because, like, when I'm asked to speak in a different type of setting that I'm used to, I do that. Because I think I'd shared about that thing at work I had to do that was more, I was talking to, like, all new faculty. So I was talking to, like, PhD scientists and MD doctors and researchers. And usually I'm talking to an audience of lawyers, and if not lawyers, business people who do that type of stuff. So this was a very academic audience, and I had to have academic peer-reviewed papers. And I did the same thing you're talking about. Overthought it. I practiced and timed myself, you know, and I didn't overthink it to the extent some people could, but I understand that desire. You start to question, and should I do this and should I do that? And then I go into, like, at least you didn't have people asking you questions, but what if they ask this question? What will I do? You know? And so, again, I think that's why it's so good that you pushed yourself out there and did that. So it was really cool.
Yeah, and I'm glad Steve, he made the comment maybe at week 3. He said, you're going to get this material and you're going to go over it so much, it's not going to be funny to you anymore.
Right.
And he was like, and that's going to make you want to change it.
Right.
To make you
want to tweak it or be like, oh, it didn't land.
He was like, you've just got to trust that if it was funny once, it's going to stay funny.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as funny to you because
you've heard it 8,000 times.
Yeah, you've run it in your mind constantly. Yeah. And I'm glad he told me that, because there was definitely a moment about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, where I felt like, this is not a funny story. Like, I just need to ditch this totally and come up with something else. And I was like, no, Steve said trust it.
Yeah.
Steve said trust it. And I'm glad I did, because I got a lot of big laughs last night.
Yeah, you did.
And it was good having all these friends and family there, because that was built-in laugh track.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're there because they genuinely love me and they want to come out and support me. And so they were going to laugh.
Yeah.
And that part was good. But it also would have been interesting had they not been there. The strangers, would the strangers have laughed? You know, were the strangers laughing? Like, I couldn't tell. It was so black, so dark. I mean, it was pitch black. I couldn't see anybody. So I don't know who was laughing and who wasn't. But.
Well, like I told you, the lady beside me and her husband and them, they were definitely laughing and I didn't know them. They were strangers. So I at least could hear some people that were laughing. And I did hear some people laugh that I didn't recognize their laughs. Some people have distinctive laughs. And I'm like, oh, I know who that is. You know, but there were people that were. So it was great.
Yeah. Well, they videoed it, and he's supposed to be sending us the clip today or tomorrow.
Maybe you can put a picture, too, of the group.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You can put a picture in the
thing.
Page, yeah, so people can see that.
I'm going to write up a little something on Facebook today on my personal page and thank everybody for coming.
And we have to ask Luke for that one picture. So I felt bad. I didn't take pictures because Josh told me I wasn't supposed to take pictures. Why I listened to the 16-year-old, I don't know, but I panicked and I didn't. But I think Luke got one picture, and I got lots of pictures before and after. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm anxious to watch the video and see what it was like.
Yeah. And critique yourself, I'm sure.
And critique myself.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I have a video, because if I look at it and I'm like, okay, well, that's not too bad. Steve, they're at the Idiot Box every spring. They have, like, they call it the Ultimate Comic Challenge. Deadline to sign up was actually February 1st. But Steve told me last night that there's still a few slots that they didn't get filled. And he encouraged me to apply. And so I'm going to reach out to his wife, Jenny, who books it, and just see if there's any empty spots. And so I may do it.
Yeah.
And so I'll throw my name in the hat and go through this comedy competition. But having this video, if there's some other, I could send it to other venues and say, hey, here's my bit. If you have a spot in a show, can you book me? And just see what they say.
Right, exactly.
And Steve, for everyone, kept saying, just go do open mics. Go do open mics. That's where you're going to get. He's like, the point of open mic isn't even to be funny. It's just to get used to being in front of people.
Right.
I've already got that.
Right.
I would go do an open mic just to have the experience of saying I did an open mic. But I don't know if open mic is necessarily going to help me right now. I think it would help me when I'm trying to work in new material. Right. And, because I asked Steve, I was like, I just 5-minute set. Steve thinks it's very tight. He thinks it's very funny. I said, how much mileage can I get out of this? He was like, tons. He's like, just run it. He's like, you can do this at every open mic you go to, do it at various clubs. And he even said, if you end up doing the Ultimate Comic Challenge, you can do this set every single round. Like, as long as you keep progressing, you keep doing it. And he said, you don't have to bring in new stuff. He said, some people have new material every round. Yeah. And he was like, and some people they don't give themselves enough time to write new material, and then they don't know it. They're not as confident, and it's not as good. He was like, there's a lot of people that just have a tight 5 minutes, and that's what they do each round until they get to the finals. And he said the finals is not a 5-minute set, but a 10-minute set. So you have to add more. But yeah, I'm gonna throw my name in the hat and see what happens.
Yeah, I think it'll be awesome. I think it's exciting.
It is.
And we talked about how we had a friend that was an evangelist, a youth evangelist or funny evangelist. He had kind of a comedy, like not comedy, but he was funny.
Well, I think he even tried his hand. I think he even advertised himself as as like Christian comedian.
Yeah. But we talked about how he had I think 1 or 2 or 3 canned things. And because he traveled all around North Carolina, he was able to do that, to refine it, to really, just work with that material and do it. So, yeah.
So, yeah, I even had the idea, speaking of Andy, of, maybe it would be, they call, there's a PG form of comedy called dry bar comedy.
Oh, I haven't heard of this.
It's exactly what it says. Like a lot of these clubs have bars, right?
Right.
People are going to drink. They're going to.
So it's dry.
It's a little bit more. It could be a little bit more off color, as far as the joke telling and things like that. The dry bar comedy, there's no alcohol served, and it tends to draw more of the PG-13 at the most type comics. And so I was talking to Jason, the other pastor, last night. I was like, I'll see how tonight goes. I said, but I even thought about doing kind of a dry bar comedy night at our church.
Oh, that'd be neat.
I could have him come in. I could see if Andy wanted to come in. I could do something, and get.
And Andy spoken at our church years ago.
And get 6 or 7.
Jason, that'd be fun. Yeah.
Something like that, I think, would be fun.
He had one bit that made me laugh so hard. Can I share that one thing? Because I don't want to share yours. But he's talking about he's not married or something. And he was talking about being a minister and maybe girls not being into you. But then he does one, but he's like, but even worse than the girls not into you are the girls that are really into it. And then he comes up and he does his eyes and he's like, the girl that's like, you are the man that I have been waiting for all of my life. God told me that we are destined to be together or something. And I just laughed because the other thing you and I talked about, Mike, was I think the comedy that I like that appeals to me is when somebody takes an observation like that's so real, because I have known those women that would be like, you are the man I have been waiting for, and would have done it or your instructor did a bit about how his Visa card flagged a certain purchase when he went to the gym as fraud. And I thought about how one time I ordered something from Walmart and it got flagged as fraud on my credit card because I never order from Walmart. But those things land and can be so funny because there's just such normal real life, and your stuff was that too. And I think that also goes into that not overthinking it. But I think what's cool about comedians and your brain is you find these things that we kind of like float through life and take for granted, and you realize, oh, that's funny, or that's kind of, when you look at it, you're able to pull yourself out and look at it and see, oh, this is a little out there.
And that's what I've done for ministry. My preaching style is very conversational.
Yeah.
My preaching style uses, I don't even know if 5%, maybe 1% of my illustrations are generic.
Yeah.
Like 99% of them are life observations.
Yes.
And I think that's something you have to train your brain to do, is to always be observing life around you.
Yeah.
And when I would see something and think, oh, that would kind of like Jesus would do with the parables. I mean, that's all a parable was.
Yeah.
Was just an earthly story with a spiritual meaning.
Right.
And so I look for these earthly stories that I can put a spiritual spin on. And that's all comedy is for me, is I can find these earthly stories that aren't going to be necessarily a spiritual spin, but a comedic spin. And I can kind of pull that out and focus on that.
And I think the reason that connects to me is like Father Bob, who I loved, he always talked in metaphors to me. And I didn't realize until I was writing some stuff the other day, and I was talking about my writing style. And it was talking about how I do the same thing. Like what I usually have like a life experience, which then leads me to some sort of observation. Like I have that life experience. I have this observation about the life experience that then connects to some sort of spiritual question that I have. And so I think, and I use a lot of metaphors in my writing and speaking. And so I think that's why I think you and I are very aligned in like kind of seeing the world that way. And so if you like that kind of, if you like people that do that, that's the kind of comedians that are going to connect for me.
I am not a joke teller. Like I'm not like
a punchline. Like knock, who's there,
right,
or what did the so-and-so say?
A one-liner, that's not me. So
three preachers walk into a bar kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't do that.
So people are like, tell me a funny joke.
Yeah.
Like, tell me a joke from your set.
Yeah.
I can't,
you can't do
because
that.
You just got to be in context.
Right.
Like you've got to be able to hear everything else that went before it and after it, or it's not going to sound funny.
Like you're not going to write the 100 jokes in a book kind of thing. That's not going to be your thing. And it all flows and connects. Yeah.
And I mean, I would say my comedic style is modeled after Jim Gaffigan and Nate Bargatze.
Yeah.
To me, those two are perfect at the storytelling joke that is real life, that it happens to them. And I've listened to those guys. I've heard everything they've done multiple times. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've listened to, one of Nate Bargatze's specials. Like I play it like some people play music, albums, so to speak. I'll put them on and just listen. So that's how I think last night in my mind, how I wanted it to be. I wanted to be Timu Nate Bargatze.
Yeah.
Or Timu Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah.
Like obviously I'm nowhere, and I'll never be where they're at. Right. But to have that kind of style and just telling a story.
Well, like I think about Jim Gaffigan has a new bit we listen to, and he talks about like his teenagers and the way they talk to him. And it's hilarious because, again, anyone that's had teenagers that are their children can like hear that and they're like, oh yeah. Or Nate's whole thing about Afrin. And it's so funny because I am like, militant with the kids about you cannot use the Afrin more than 3 days or you're going to get addicted. But again, it's because they take, just like you did, you took, without spoiling what yours is about, you took about 3 different real life things that happened, and you connected them in a story, and anybody can identify with those things because people would be like, oh, I've been on a date before. I can see how that would happen. Or, oh, I've tried out for a sport, or I've done different things. They can connect with it because of that. Yeah.
So it started out Saturday with receiving this Man of the Year card.
Yeah.
Last night was just a lot of fun, and it was phenomenal being able to experience that and check another thing off my Big 12 for this year. And then this morning we wake up.
Yes, now this is a ministry / service win that we're so excited about.
And as we say on Hey, Are You Still There? This is a podcast about life at the intersection of marriage, family, careers, and ministry. And that's kind of, for me, what happened this weekend.
Yeah.
I hit that intersection head on.
Because we also, about the family, for the first time ever, all 3 of our kids had the same spring break. They're all in 3 different schools. They have the same spring break. They're all under our roof presently. Then they were able to be there to hear you, and they were able to hear you last night, which was like an aligning of the stars. Because I was telling people, we haven't had really that in a few years because, the kids do internships and they can't get time off or they're not lined up. So anyway, for family stuff, that was a win too. Didn't add to your man card or, your comedy card, but, family win.
It was a family,
But spiritual church win. Let's definitely share this news. It's awesome.
So Beth and I started a nonprofit a little over 12 years ago called Project Re3. And
you can look it up at projectre3.org.
Yeah.
Or find us on Facebook.
And so we started it as a mission organization. We accidentally planted a church out of it. And now we'll fast forward 12 years. And so what Project Re3 is right now is Project Re3 is the organization. I am the executive director. We have Re3 Church, which Tim Dixon is the lead pastor of. We have our Re3 Missions, which you help head up. And
yes, I am the hardest working unpaid person with a really cool title. Yes.
Not about hardest working.
But, anyway.
But we do mission trips. Like we're going to Honduras next month.
Yeah.
One of our trips.
Yeah.
But the third component is something we call the Re3 Hope Center. And it is a facility separate from the church, totally separate building, about 3 or 4 miles away from the church, where we provide free food, free clothing, free counseling, and soon free education for the community.
Yeah, super quick. We redid some space.
Yeah, we just remodeled some space.
And it went from looking, what did you say it looked like?
The basement? Like Pennywise from It. It looked like something he would have created.
Yeah, that he would have lured children in to. Yeah, it was creepy looking, but it's now painted white and it just looks so good. And so we're going to be able to offer classes or outreach or all sorts of things. But anyway, so that's exciting.
So there's an organization here locally in the Triad of North Carolina called
Triad Moms
on Main. And it covers... The Triad is Greensboro, Winston, High Point. But then it also covers Kernersville and Burlington. And that might be it. That might be the big 5 cities that they cover.
And they've been around forever and grown because they started out, I think, maybe as an email list. I haven't looked at their history, but I remember when our kids were little.
Yeah, they've been around
I
for a
would
long
go
time.
to them to be like, what can I do with my kids this weekend that may be inexpensive or free? Yeah, and they would have
thousands
stuff.
of followers, really popular site here locally for families. But for the first time, we were nominated this year for, I guess it's the first time we've made the finals, I should say.
Yeah.
That our Hope Center made favorite nonprofit in Kernersville.
Yeah.
And we were competing with 2 other nonprofits that are great nonprofits.
Very well established and have been around a long time.
Forever.
And they are fabulous. We've partnered and done things. We love them. But
Right. And so it really was an honor to be nominated.
Yeah, because we've only been around since 2021, the Hope Center.
And so we found out this morning we won.
Yes.
So the Re3 Hope Center was named favorite mission-driven nonprofit in Kernersville.
Yes.
I went and looked at the other cities. Winston's was like Second Harvest Food Bank.
Which is crazy because Second Harvest Food Bank is huge. And Second Harvest Food Bank is the food bank that supplies the food that we get. We purchase food from them for our little food pantry. So
and I can't remember who High Points was, but it was another big one. Greensboro's was the Dolly Parton book thing.
Oh, so really big, nationally known stuff. Because Second Harvest Food Bank, we do at our massive companies we work at, we go and volunteer there and raise money for them. Like they are much larger scale.
And
than
Burlington, and actually I think it was Burlington and High Point, theirs was some kind of like backpack program.
Yeah.
It was the same one. So, I mean, they're obviously multi-city, multi-county. And then you have the national one, the Dolly Parton one. You have Second Harvest, which is a North and South Carolina regional one. And then you have us. We were the only just standalone small nonprofit. And we won. And that means that's a lot. That's very reaffirming.
It just feels like, because our community's poured into us, we've tried to pour back into the community, but it just feels nice to have somebody recognize like the work that you're doing, because you hope you're making an impact, and you do hear some individual stories, but sometimes I feel like we're this, you're in this sea of like so many other organizations and stuff, and so you're like, we're a little fish in this massive ocean. And so this was really neat to like be recognized, and I don't know, it just makes me excited and proud. And I think the thing that's hard, and we don't talk about this kind of stuff as much here, but doing this kind of work, people burn out so much. And we talked a little bit in ministry the other week about judgy people burning out people in ministry. But like the other thing is, when you serve like this, it's so easy to just get so focused on the need that you never look at your wins. You never go back and look and say, whoa, this is where God showed up, remembering God's faithfulness and showing up, or remembering or just celebrating. Like we talk about in Lent, we've talked about feast and then, the fasting. Well, it's easy in nonprofits to only be focused on the fasting and the work, to never like have the feast. And I feel like this is a time to slow down and say, you've done this, because there's been so many times that we've been like, okay, this has happened. Now we have our education space. There's so much need. We have to do this. Or we got this, small grant. We just went and spent all the money, and now we gave away all the food, and now we need more food. Like you get so focused on this need that is like, I'm trying to think of how a metaphor to describe it, but it's just the need is so vast, you will never be able to plug it and fill it. And so you can get trapped in that, like, just work, always trying to strive for the next level because you want to help people. But this gives us time to step back and say, we need to celebrate. This is our time of feast. This is our time to be excited about something. Yeah. And really shout out to the team that runs the Hope Center and the volunteers that are there.
And that's the key. And I may always talk about this in another podcast, but I think that's been the biggest thing in the last 12 years is I've gotten out of the way and stopped trying to do everything myself and tried to stop micromanaging even those I put in positions of leadership.
And you truly delegate.
And delegate and step back and just try to do the Jesus model of build up the disciples and let them go lead.
And you're still there.
You're still there. Right. That model of pour into others, encourage them, give them the tools to succeed, show them grace when it doesn't work out, and try again. And
you're the leader that allows you to truly not only cast vision, but also be at the top and sort of oversee, so you can be involved in the big decisions that impact the missions and the church and the Hope Center and the way that they're all tied together, so that then the people who run the church and the Hope Center and missions can focus on their bucket, but you can be the one that ties it together. But you only have the freedom to do that if you're not trying to run every daily detail of those other arms of the organization.
And I feel like we've got an amazing team in place.
Yes.
Both at the church and at the Hope Center.
Oh, and me.
And you.
Yeah.
But honestly, you and I could go get hit by a bus today. And I feel like Project Re3 would not miss a beat.
Right. I feel like they would. I hope they'd miss us. Maybe a little.
Maybe. But
I mean, who would provide this comic relief, and then who would provide the comedy? You'd have to have the comedy, and I have to provide the inspiration.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have that.
No.
But I think otherwise, you're right. They would keep going just fine.
Keep going.
Yeah, and it would be well oiled. But and that's the other thing. We have so many volunteers and people at the Hope Center, and it can do what it does because pretty much every bit of money that comes into that Hope Center, we do have a mortgage that we have to pay. We have to have electricity and keep the lights and things on. But after we pay our expenses, we have like 2 people that get paid, and they are not paid much. And everything. And when I say that, like, not a salary, no benefits. This is like,
barely a stipend.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. Everybody else volunteers. And that, again, that's how so much of the money that comes in is able to go right back out. And that, I think, is why it's also astonishing, because my friend Jenny worked in nonprofits for years, had a degree in nonprofit management. And what we would always talk about is just how hard it is, like organizing volunteers, getting volunteers to commit, because if you have to choose between your paid job or taking care of your family, the volunteer thing's always the first thing, that you're going to give up or not be as committed to. Not because you don't want to, but priorities, you have to choose the other things. And so the fact that we have these people that are so consistent and dedicated is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it was a great 3 days.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah, I hope you'll continue to feel manly and funny and spiritual.
I'm doing my best.
Yeah. I hope you will be able to carry that through the week, all of these good feelings. Yes. And a traitor and a liar. We'll throw that in there because we got to not let your head get too big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hey, thanks for all the support, honey. You were great this weekend. Very encouraging to me.
Yay. It was great. It was good. It was fun watching it.
For those of you listening who came out, thank you so much. For those that are listening that did not get a chance to come out, there may be another one coming up. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. And if you also want to check out our Hope Center or anything, if you feel inspired by our Big 12, if you want to sponsor us on this podcast, this is the best money losing venture we've ever had. Yeah. This and writing books, those 2 things, by the time I did our taxes, I was like, wait a minute, they're going to tax us this much on these books? Yeah, but we're also always looking for people or groups if you want us to, if you want to sponsor us or partner with us, reach out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, until next week, this is Mike.
And Beth.
And this has been Hey, Are You Still There?